voters will decide, and we do have extensive coverage on KCAL 9.
Tonight, we're counting down to Tuesday's big vote.
And we're diving deeper into some of the big contests for the June primary. This includes the hard-fought race for sheriff, a closely watched House race, the race for Senate, and the governor's race.
And joining us live via Zoom right now is Professor Fernando Guerra, professor of political science at Loyola Marymount University. Professor, thanks for joining us. All right, Professor Guerra, can you hear me?
Yes, good evening. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Well, listen, This has been a bitter race for sheriff. Let's start there. So many candidates in the race, but Sheriff Villanueva is doing so strongly. He thinks he is going to get over 50% in the primary, thus winning the election in the primary. Is his prediction correct, or do you see a larger breakdown among all these 8 candidates?
Yeah, probably not. To remind the viewers, if one candidate, the sheriff in this case, gets 50% plus 1, he wins outright. There's no runoff for November. I don't think he'll reach 50%, and he'll be in a runoff, and it'll probably be former police chief Luna from Long Beach. I just don't think the numbers are there for Villanueva to win it outright.
Well, another one of the tight races for the primary is expected to be the battle for the new 27th congressional district. Now, can you give us more perspective on this race, particularly when it comes to Mike Garcia, Christy Smith, and John Quay Quartet?
Sure. To remind everybody, this was a seat that was held by Republicans for over 30 years. Katie Hill won the seat in 2018. She then resigned, and in the special election, the regular election in 2020, Mike Garcia won. Democrats think they can capture it again because of redistricting. Simi Valley was moved out of it, so it's not as Republican. Definitely in the primary, I think Mike Smith will get the more votes than Christy Smith because there's another Democrat who's also very strong, and so they'll split the Democratic vote. But one of these Democrats, and most likely Christy Smith, will come out and face Mike Garcia in November, where we expect a higher turnout, and she'll be very competitive. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it flips in November, but still too early to tell.
Now, you just touched on this, Professor Guerra. This is a new district now, including parts of the San Fernando Valley and Santa Clarita. So how will that change possibly impact this vote?
So Mike Garcia in 2020 beat Christy Smith by only 300 votes, 380 votes or something of that nature. In the Simi Valley, he won by even more than that portion of the district. That's no longer in the district. So if you take that portion out, that would actually give Christy Smith an advantage. And so it's going to be difficult for Mike Garcia. He needs to hope that he really rallies his forces, and that turnout actually is not as high as many predict for November.
You know, there are many districts that we think may, in fact, flip 27. And we're just talking about District 49, for example. Here in California, we have, 42 Democrats, 10 Republicans, 1 seat that's open in California because of the redistricting for this year's primary and the election coming up in November. Do you think many seats are going to flip? Do you think we're going to see vastly different numbers across the state for our congressional delegation?
The battle is really going to be around 4 or 5 seats. And unfortunately for the Republicans, 3 of those are currently held by Republicans. I think there's only 1 Democratic seat that might be in play. And so California, from a national perspective, will help Democrats by holding on to the seats they currently have and possibly gaining 1, 2, maybe even 3, although that's not likely to forestall the Republican wave that many are expecting in November.
Well, the California governor's race, polls show Gavin Newsom with a commanding lead right now. So the question is, who will take the number 2 spot for the one-on-one match with Newsom come November?
Yeah, Governor Newsom won re-election back in September. There is absolutely no viable candidate really running. Many expect that a state senator from the northern part of the state will probably come in second. State Senator Dolly, no one's really ever heard of him. And so this is going to be, he'll probably get over 50% of the vote in the June primary. However, state law is different for governor, state legislature, and Congress. There we have what we call the top 2. So even if someone gets over 50%, even if they get 99%, they still have to go to the November ballot with whoever comes in second, irrespective of the vote that they get. But the governor is a slam dunk. And even the way he's running his commercials already, I think he's already running for president.
What do you think about Senator Alex Padilla? Do you think that's a slam dunk as well? Of course, he's on the ballot twice. He's trying to remain in the term that he's currently been appointed to and another new 6-year term. Do you see any viable challengers to him, or do you think that's going to be easy for him as well?
I think it'll be easy for him, not as easy as a governor. There is a candidate who's going to spend quite a bit of money, and so I think he'll do that. Republican will do a little bit better, but I still don't expect Padilla to have any trouble.
Okay.
Well, finally, your thoughts here on the number of viable progressive candidates running for LA City Council.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty remarkable. I know we've been talking about Rick Caruso and that he was formerly a Republican, and certainly you see a lot of moderate Democrats running, but there are a tremendous amount of viable progressive candidates. I mean, really progressive and leftists that have a good chance. There's 5 of them who I believe will finish in second place in all of these and maybe even in first. And they could form a formidable block on the LA City Council if 2 or 3 or 4 of them may win. I don't think they will run the table, but it really sets it up for in 2 years and for in the future that progressive Democrats, I mean, very progressive Democrats, are really organized and doing a great job of now fielding viable candidates. And it's going to be the battles that we're going to see in the future of LA politics.
And really quickly, the new poll out today showing Karen Bass ahead of Rick Caruso. They've been neck and neck all along. This is a 4-point lead. Do you think it's ultimately going to make a difference? Or are we still in the same place?
No, I think we're still in the same place. I think this poll just reinforces the unlikely that either one of them will get over 50%. Remember, a poll is really simulating what they think the turnout is, and that's kind of tricky. I think they're simulating a little higher turnout, but it doesn't matter. Neither Caruso nor Bass will get 50%. They will have a runoff, and they will be battling it from Wednesday until November.
Professor Guerra, we really appreciate your insight tonight as we head to the primary Tuesday.
Yes, go out and vote.